G'day, I'm Warwick Schiller, and you know, a lot of times I get questions about how to solve a certain problem, and usually, oh hey Drover, and usually my response is, how's your groundwork? And a lot of people don't really get the connection between the groundwork and the problem, but here's a clip. This was filmed at the main event Horse Expo in Scottsdale, Arizona last year, and they had me do a session in the round pen. It was basically just a question and answer session. And I had my horse Bundy in there, and I had different people asking questions. But this first lady asked a question about how she's got a horse and it's 10 years old, I think, and she doesn't have any problems with it, hasn't had any problems with it for 10 years, except when you go in its stall to put its blanket on, or its rug as you call it in Australia, or a cover in New Zealand, it'll put its fly mask on, it pins its ears and tries to bite her. But it's perfect everywhere else. And so as you'll see, as we go on here, we find out that it's actually not perfect everywhere else, and by solving those other issues, elsewhere, she wouldn't have the problem she was having. So anyway, just another clip to show you that if you get your basics good, all the big problems, so to speak, will take care of themselves. Let's go over here.
When I go in her stall, and she's done this.
Sorry, I can't go over there.
For 10 years, when I go in the stall, when I put a fly mask on, I'll run a blanket her. She pins her ears, and she'll try to bite me.
Okay, so she's great. She's been great for 10 years.
For 10, yes.
For 10 years, she's great for 10 years, except so she's been horrible in the stall for 10 years.
Yeah.
So every time you go in a stall, she tries to put a fly mask or a blanket on, she pins her ears and tries to bite you. Okay, how well does she do this particular exercise? She's very lazy. Okay, now we're getting to the real problem here is if you can't get her to go, she's training you to do whatever, you know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't worry about little things like fly masks, blankets, saddles, picking up feet, any of that stuff till they get this stuff here under control. They can't pull on me, they can't bite me, they can't strike me, they can't kick me from here. Does that make sense? I mean, I start here. I tell you what, I had a warm blood mare a few years ago, a dressage or a jumping horse, and they said she had all sorts of problems. One of it was bucking. But anyway, the first thing I did with it was this hook and on session like this. Anyway, while she was standing there looking at me like this, the trainer said, oh, there's something else you can't do with her. You can't touch her under the belly, she will bite you. And I said, really? And so I walked up here. I said, hey, sweetheart. And I reached under her belly and I went scratch, 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 scratch. And she stood there and didn't do anything, didn't bite me. But, oh, that's what she does. She rears under saddle. Where did she rear up? Right here when I asked her to go. Once I got her going and I tried to get her to change directions and I stepped over here and right here I tried to get her to go the other way. What did she do? She reared up. And then when I got her going and I stepped over here and tried to get her the other way, right here, she reared up. And I kept doing it until rearing up was not an answer that worked. And eventually I got it to where when I stepped over here, I could send her off in either direction quite easily. Then I could let her come and stand right there. And I wasn't trying to fix the biting. But when I went up and scratched her on the belly, where the lady says, you can't scratch her on the belly because she'll bite you, she didn't bite me. But if I am close enough to be bitten, I can't do much about it, okay? But there was a place to ask her some questions she could protest to from a lot further away to where she couldn't intimidate me. If they're a long way away and they start running at me, I've got enough time to meet them halfway and act like I know what I'm doing. If they're standing right here and they've got a hold of me, I'm too close to really do anything right there. So this is kind of where I start because I'm taking care of a lot of things. I can get my horse's focus, I can get a walk, I can get a trot, I can canter, I can get him to change directions, I can get him to stop and stand still, I can get him to focus on me. And a lot of times just doing this simple exercise gets rid of a lot of problems. So I'm not really a problem solver as in when I would have a lot of problem horses that buck and rear and bolt and stuff, none of them ever bucked or reared or bolted. Because the problem was before the buck or the rear or the bolt, and the thing that was missing was causing the buck or the rear or the bolt. Does that make sense there? So, yeah, I mean, you know, you could do a lot of things. You could go in there and when she tries to bite you, you could whack her in the nose with your elbow. Now she's not biting you and she still hates you. You know what I mean? I would try to, and the other thing is she eating at the time? Sometimes. A big rule of mine is don't ever ask a horse to do anything around food that you can't do perfectly well without food. So I've had people go, you know, I've had people say, oh, I tried to drive my horse away from the food and she struck me and kicked me. Oh, well, how well does she drive away when there's no food? Oh, I can't drive her away then either. Does that make sense? It's kind of like, don't turn one problem into two problems. If your horse cannot stand still tied up, don't put him in the horse trailer and wonder why he can't stand still in the horse trailer. You wouldn't believe the number of people that ask me, how do I fix my horse pawing in the trailer? He's in the trailer and he paws all the time. And I say, well, how would he be if you tied him to that fence and left him there for an hour? Oh, no, he doesn't like that. He would paw the whole time. Well, it's not a trailer problem. Don't try to treat it as a trailer problem. I have people go, oh, I have trouble getting the bit in my horse's, oh, I have trouble bridling my horse. And I go, oh, yeah, what's the problem? Well, he flings his head up and carries on. I go, okay, so can you put your finger in his mouth and have him open his mouth? Yes. Can you run your hand over his ears? Oh, no, he doesn't like his ears touched. So he's got an ear touching problem, and then what they do is they take the bit, they put the bit in their mouth, pull it over his teeth, and then they try to put the bridle over his head. He flings his head up and the bit whacks him in the mouth and he spits the bit out and runs away. And now you've got a bridling problem and an ear problem. Does that make sense there? I mean, I'm not very talented training horses as in fixing problems. I am very step by step by step, and if you start at the beginning, the end bit's quite easy. Who saw the colt starting this morning? So as you can see, once again, everything's related, and if you get the little things good, the big things will be easy. So I hope that helps. We'll see you guys next time.